The person who lives in this cute but tiny one-bedroom apartment has been paying close to $1,500 a month in rent. But her landlord has evicted her because he says his son is going to move in her place. There was another unit in the building, the same size, available, but for $1,800 a month. And she was advised that if she really wanted it, she should sweeten the deal. She offered $1,825 but was turned down. She figures the new tenant is probably paying close to $1,900. It's this kind of bidding war that has become all too common in Toronto's rental market.
I've had landlords get back to me, before I've even met them or seen the place, get back to me with a long list of requirements. They want a letter of employment. They want, a credit check. They want me to come prepared with all of that stuff before I've even seen the place and know if I'm interested.
As soon as you find that great place, you better be ready to get in there and have great references to sign, because it'll be just snapped up.
City of Toronto stats confirm how competitive the market is. The average price of a two-bedroom condo in 2012 was just over $1,600 a month. In 2017, that number jumped to $2,400, an increase of 50%. Meanwhile, the vacancy rate dropped to less than 1%. This real estate agent works with renters to help them find a place. She says you have to treat the process like you're applying for a job.
You have to be the best possible tenant. So I have a list of paperwork that I ask my clients to get ready well in advance of going to look. Most really great units will disappear in 24 hours. So you have to be ready, and you have to have everything ready. You have to know what your credit score is. You have to have a letter from your employer. The list goes on and on.
There are rules prohibiting eviction of a tenant, except in a few limited circumstances. But there's no doubt that occasionally a landlord will try to skirt the law or outright break it. The Advocacy Centre for Tenants Ontario blames the government for not building more affordable housing.
Government has left it to the private sector to take care of people's housing needs. The private sector is interested in making money. The private sector isn't interested in providing housing to people that they can afford. The government has traditionally filled that gap for the last 20 years or so. They've just neglected that obligation, and we're left in a crisis here.
Ken Hale says he's hopeful that the federal government's promise of a national housing strategy will help improve the situation. He also applauds the provincial government for tightening up the rules in the last year, but he says it's important for voters to make sure housing is a top issue in this June's election. I'm Pam Seatle, City News.
We asked the Ministry of Housing about the state of rental housing in the city of Toronto. In a statement, they tell City News, "We are starting to see encouraging signs that demand is catching up with supply." A report from Urban Nation in February showed the number of proposed units in the Greater Toronto Area passed 380,000 in 2017. That's a 49% increase from 5 years ago.